Now, a study supported by USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture by Penn State revealed that the number of agricultural injuries at the farm has actually been increasing over the past few years. What is even more shocking is that 30% of the patients due to the agricultural related injuries are young people, and around 22% are elderly people. Out of these, 67% of all the patients were actually male. So that just means that most males are in agriculture or agribusiness compared to women. So women, Maze, we need you in agribusiness. But anyway, the whole point is the number of agriculture related injuries has actually risen, and most people have tried to avoid this subject because most people think that it is not that common. So it's time that we discussed these occupational hazards when it comes to agriculture or agribusiness or farming. My name is Samuel, of course, and this is Africa Farming, a channel focused on new generation farmers and new entrants in farming who are willing to learn new farming practices. So take a second or two to subscribe, hit on the notification bell, and as I always tell you, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers, and by you watching and subscribing to our channel, you actually help us get to that milestone, and we'll actually be glad to welcome you on board the Africa Farming family. So karibuni, and let's take this ride together. Now back to the subject of the day. What are some of these agriculture related occupational health hazards that you might expect for those people who've not gotten or rather ventured into farming? These are some of the things you might experience once you get into farming. Now for those people who are practicing agribusiness or farming in dry areas, the number one health hazard is the hot weather. The temperatures are crazy. That is our number one health hazard. Now, most farming operations are actually done outdoors, and as such, this poses issues when it comes to farming, especially when the weather is too hot. Number one, there is risk of dehydration, but that can be handled if you have water. Number two, there is risk of exhaustion, but that can be handled when it comes to taking time off to rest. But remember, there are people in other regions who don't need that time to rest, so you find that productivity compared to those other areas, yours kind of becomes lower. So there are some issues that will come up as a result of the hot weather. There'll be heat cramps, heat exhaustion. Sometimes you might also have what we call skin cancer because of the direct light that hits your skin. So some of the measures that maybe you might decide to take when it comes to such is getting sunscreen and all that, just applying on your skin before you go to the farm, especially when it's too hot or when the sun is directly above you. Secondly, we have what we call snakes and insects. Now, for those people who are practicing farming, and even us at Africa Farming, I think since we started the farm, we've killed over like 20 snakes. And of course, there are other insects around your farm that if you don't wear protective, personal protective equipment and all that, you might actually be in for a rude shock. You might find snakes hopping around, especially when you have grasses like these. As you can see, my background, it's kind of rainy right now, so the grasses have actually grown. So if you don't trim, for example, bushy areas and all that, you'll find snakes and even insects whose bites or stings might actually be dangerous to you. So that is also an occupational hazard that you should expect coming into farming. So ensure that you do wear your PPEs, especially when you are at the farm and you don't know what is always there. For those people who live within the farm, try to spray what we call K-roll around your house, around the toilet, around chicken house and all that. Just spray the K-roll or diesel so that it can scare away those snakes. The third health hazard or occupational hazard related to agriculture is the existence of sharp tools within your farm. Now, if you've gone to rural areas, most people don't wear protective gear, and you find that the farm is actually the place where people throw anything that they find that is of wastage. You'll just find people throwing. So as a result, you find there are so many sharp things around. You might find rusted metals, sharp metals, even razor blades and all that. So if you don't wear protective gear, sometimes they might pose a threat to your own life. And secondly, there are those people who in their farms have mechanized systems. They have machines and all that, and because you might have workers who might not be that careful, they might end up losing a part of their body because of being careless, which is a health hazard, by the way, for those people operating machines and are not careful. So just be careful when you're doing all these things. When you're walking around your farm, as insisted on the previous point, wear protective gear so that at least you might not injure yourself. And also, as a precautionary measure, when you find something that is sharp, just pick it, throw it in a dustbin or where you put your trash, so that somebody else might not be affected by all these. The fourth health hazard is physical labor, especially when it comes to carrying loads. And this is mostly to the elderly people. Most people have left farming or agribusiness to elderly people, and as such, most of these people are the ones who are practicing agriculture. And one thing that we know when it comes to agribusiness, you have to carry heavy loads from one place to another. And when these people do that in the course of all these farming operations, season in, season out, they end up having back pains, body pains generally, due to their age and all that. And even young people, you'll find that young people who keep doing, carrying all these heavy loads in the farm, eventually will start complaining of body aches and back pains and all that. So it's always recommended that you start by, once in a while, do bring motorized equipment or, automobiles that can help you carry heavy loads from one place to another. But just remember, even if you have the motorized or rather the automobiles like tractors and all that, at the end of the day, tractors will not enter, for example, a barn. So that place you'll need to carry. So find a system that will work for you to avoid such health hazards. The fifth health hazard associated with farming is the use of pesticides, the fumes and gases and pathogens that come as a result of, for example, spraying your farm and all that. Now, these gases might be harmful to you, and especially I still insist, wearing protective gear is very important. So if, for example, you don't take those precautionary measures, you might end up inhaling those gases and those pathogens and all that, and coming in direct contact with those parasites in the soil and all that, which may be injurious to you. You might end up having malaria, sleeping sickness, and hookworm and all that. Sometimes these pathogens that you come into contact with, or when you inhale the pesticides that you sprayed within your farm, might end up causing even respiratory tract diseases and sometimes even cancer. So this is not something to joke around. You need to be very careful when you're doing your farming activities, and especially when it comes to spraying your plants and all that. You need to always wear protective gear, because in the long run it might be detrimental to your health. Now, apart from these 5 health hazards that we've talked about before, there are others that people might consider minor, but they do happen. Now, number one, you might find that people have, they have electric fence around their farm. So you might have issues to do with electric shocks. Sometimes there might be fire, sometimes accidents, road accidents. Maybe you're using your tractor. Actually, tractor accidents have become so rampant in big farms. So that can also be a health hazard for you. We have sometimes livestock attacks. You might find you have animals that are very aggressive. I used to have a cock that used to fight my son. So such things, you'll have livestock attacking you. And sometimes even wild animals, like where Africa farming is located. It's actually in a native place where people coexist with wild animals. So once in a while, you'll find that elephants have come and have attacked a certain place and all that. So those are things that you should expect, even though the probability is low. But yes, once in a while, you should expect that. So apart from the 5 that we've mentioned, there are other health hazards that you might consider minor, but are very, very important for you to know, so that you can come up with a way to, counter in case they do happen. So yes, farming is great, but it comes with its own challenges, and it's always good that you know some of these challenges that farming poses to you. So that's it for us today. If you want to partner with us, you can always link with us on our socials at Africa Farming KE on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube as Africa Farming. And if you like this video, kindly send us your feedback on the comment section. So until next time, when we do another video similar to this, it's nothing but changamka na ukulima. Bye bye.